ain't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, the Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Before we get into the video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, that way you don't miss out on any of my videos, and also tap that notification bell because it really helps me out in the algorithm and gets this video in front of way more people. Thank you so much for that in advance. Now, let's get into Justice League Unlimited #1. So this is a Justice League in the aftermath of the Absolute Power event. This is a Justice League that has become something more akin to, if you are familiar with the Justice League Unlimited animated series, very similar setup, at least in terms of how many characters you can expect to see. This issue is also going to show you why Airwave is probably about to become one of the most hated characters in the history of the Justice League, and that's actually saying something. I've actually been sitting on this information for about a month. I actually read the first issue. This first issue we're talking about right now, I read it back at the beginning of November. It was a lot, this new Justice League. It's very reminiscent of Justice League Unlimited animated series, but it also reminds me a lot more of the kind of like mid to late aughts era Justice League of America. That was at a time where pretty much everybody was in the JLA. A lot of people probably remember this cover, the iconic DC Comics JLA cover with pretty much every member of the Justice League. You probably see it on like wallpapers and random videos and pictographs, whatever the hell you find these pictures at. You probably see them everywhere, and you just be like, oh, I don't remember what that was from. That's a really cool picture. Well, that was from that era. That is what this reminds me of a lot, only on a much greater level. This time it is bigger and better than ever. It's all hands on deck, and everyone is more coordinated than ever before. And no different than the Justice League Unlimited animated series, everybody's going to be involved, but you're still going to have a core team. And the alpha wave that it's referred to in this is Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Star Sapphire, who is technically standing in as a lantern for Hal Jordan. We're not gonna have a Green Lantern on the core of this team, and it's gonna be Star Sapphire, which I actually think is gonna make things pretty interesting. And we're also gonna have Black Lightning. It's nice to have Black Lightning on the team. It makes it even more interesting considering Black Lightning's original stance to being on the Justice League in the 70s. So yeah, I definitely think this is a nice touch. We've also got Kid Flash, who is the nephew of Barry Allen, but this is also a Wally. This is a Wallace West Jr. I've talked about this before, but sometimes people get confused by it just the same. So there's that. And we also have Firestorm, not a newcomer to the Justice League. He's been a member in the past, but he's back, and it's been a while since he's been a core member of the team. So here we go. There will also be other waves, backups, reserves, all that good stuff, just like the animated series had as well. And they're going to be able to pull from so many different ranks because they're going to be able to pull from the Titans, the Teen Titans, the Green Lantern Corps, the Birds of Prey, the JSA, the Bat Family, the Super Family, the Wonder Woman, the Shazam Family, the Challengers, even, by God. This is probably the most well-oiled machine the Justice League has ever put out in the history of ever, and it's all running as smoothly as it is because of its linchpin, and that is Red Tornado. Now, some of you may be asking the question, how is Red Tornado involved in any of this? Was he not destroyed in Absolute Power? And you would be correct. His body was destroyed, but his mind, or rather, his artificial intelligence is still intact, and they are using him interfaced with the Watchtower's mainframe in order to run everything. Red Tornado is basically assessing damage control and monitoring for incoming potential threats, formulating teams based on knowledge, abilities, powers, and any other specific talents, and putting together various teams for various different purposes. And it's working. Like, it's almost working too well. Like, even when it doesn't work, this particular issue, like, it still ends up working out because while Airwave, as I mentioned earlier, does not get directly involved in the shenanigans that are happening at this precise moment, we are introduced to the villains that the Justice League are going to have to face off with. A new organization called Inferno. Now, Inferno does not sound like a terrestrial group, they sound like aliens from another world, and I only say that because there's a point where Superman and Wonder Woman are both speaking to what is effectively a hollow projection of Inferno, and when they do, refer to Earth as your world. They don't say it's theirs. They make it seem as though it's a place that doesn't really have any meaning to them, other than wanting to take it over or destroy it. You know, take your pick. But at the end of it all, they have made their presence known, and it's heartbreaking because it seems like maybe possibly Airwave might be in on what's going on. Now, you're probably asking yourself, who is Airwave? You said his name a couple of times. Why should I care who he is? For those unfamiliar, the character Airwave actually dates all the way back to the 40s, though this is not the same Airwave. The Airwave that dates back to the 40s is actually the father of the Airwave we see before us. And I know what some people are going to say, well, wait a minute, that was New Earth continuity. This is Prime Earth continuity. Technically, New Earth and Prime Earth continuity are melded together, but just for the sake of argument, if you hear me say the New Earth version of Airwave, I am actually talking about Larry Jordan, who is the uncle of Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, and hence why this current iteration of Airwave, which we will refer to as the Prime Earth Airwave going forward, he is named after that Green Lantern, hence why his name is Hal Jr. The original Airwave had to use technology in order to affect the powers that he has, the ability to manipulate the electromagnetic spectrum on multiple different levels and even turn into electromagnetic energy and airwaves. Hal Jr. does not need technology to affect this. Originally, he did use his father's suit to affect those powers, but eventually over time, he ended up not needing them. Somewhere between then and there, he became a proper metahuman. But all previous Airwaves before him, both his father and his mother, they needed the suit in order to do the things that Hal Jr. can do without them. And this version of Hal Jr. has pretty much the same powers and abilities as the New Earth continuity version of the character. He's basically able to transmit, control, and manipulate, and even project airwaves of pretty much any kind, whether it's radio waves, Wi-Fi signals. He's even referred to in Absolute Power as a living Wi-Fi signal. He can project pretty much anything he wants into any type of electronic device that can receive a radio signal of any kind. And just like how his father could turn into a living radio wave, he can do the exact same thing. It seems like where the New Earth version eventually became a full-on metahuman at some weird point in his history, this one still relies on the suit, even though there's some instances that might make you believe that he doesn't need the suit in order to enact his power. Ever since the events of Superman Reborn and Doomsday Clock, things have gotten kind of weird in that regard. There's some aspects of New Earth continuity that, you know, just kind of bled right on in with Prime Earth, and there's other aspects of it where ages and connections, familial ties and romantic ties, things of all that nature, all that stuff you just kind of end up having to file under because comic books. But yeah, this is one of those instances where, yeah, we're just gonna have to go with this shit. Some of you old heads might even remember a time when Airwave used to go by the name Mazer in the late 80s, but yeah, that's a time we all try to forget. But all of that aside, what Airwave is most famous for, especially recently, is during the finale of Absolute Power, it was Airwave who was instrumental in proving to the entire world that the Justice League was innocent of all the charges that Amanda Waller had framed them for, trying to make it look like the heroes had turned on Earth, when in fact, it was actually Amanda Waller using the Brainiac Queen to create deep fakes and AI-generated videos that made it appear as though the Justice League was turning on everyone. Airwave was able to project Amanda Waller's confession to every screen in the entire world, so everyone knows the truth. Didn't matter if they were on their computer at the time, or on their cell phone, or watching TV, on the Fire Stick, whatever the case was, whatever screen they had in front of them, they were able to know the truth. Even if they were listening to an old radio, everybody now knows. Now it seems like Airwave, while he is enamored with being a part of the Justice League, he now has a new unique situation. It's that he wants to destroy the Justice League, and we don't really know why. The thing is that Airwave was popping up a lot during Absolute Power, mostly as a background character, and then sometimes being a little bit more to the forefront, but never really being like the main event of any particular issue until that final issue of Absolute Power. So it's difficult to say exactly what his aim is here. And we know that under normal circumstances, he usually wants to be a hero, but you can tell he's conflicted in his thoughts because we see him literally crying his eyes out when he reveals that he is going to have to kill them. Now, whether this is coming from a place of maliciousness, I don't think that's the case. I don't think it is. And I wonder if maybe someone's putting him up to this, if Inferno is involved on any level. Is difficult to say, and I haven't read the second issue just yet. I think I probably have access to it right now. I think it's been sent over to me to check out for review purposes. Even if I had that information, I wouldn't share it anyway because it would be breaking an NDA. But the point remains, yeah, this is, man, this is good. It's damn good. This is damn good. And I mean, why am I shouldn't even be surprised. It's Mark Waid. I mean, come on. Let's cut the bullshit here. It's Mark Waid. Of course it's fucking good.